as we all know it. Anyways, it was quite an interesting and intriguing one. I mean, yesterday, the 6th of October, Sim Fubara has already inaugurated or sworn in these local government chairmen. They've gotten their certificates of return, and he's just moving ahead because he's a moving train at this point now. And the major headline on the front page of the Punch newspaper reads: Rivers crisis, Wike camp heads for court as Fubara swears in local government chairman. What exactly they're going to do in court, let's find out, because let's not forget, just earlier last week, the report came in that the Federal High Court in Abuja had, given instructions that the Rivers State should not hold its elections due to the fact that, there was a voter register, that was supposed to have been handed down to the RCEC, and they had not gotten it. And Sim Fubara was arguing that why is Rivers State an exemption? 10 other states in the country had held their local government elections and they used 2023 voter register. So why do we have to wait for a new register in Rivers State for us to carry out our conversation? And the people who went to court is another intriguing part of it, okay? So we have a faction of PDP, some members that are loyal to Nyesom Wike, the FCT minister, former governor of Rivers State, and then a faction of APC led by Tony Okocha. They were the ones who went to court. But then Fubara went ahead, had the election, and life is going on in Rivers State. But as it is now, the Rivers State People's Democratic Party and the APC factions, they've rejected the conduct and the outcome of the local government election, stating that no election was held in the state on Saturday. The Rivers PDP, that's loyal to Wike, described the poll as an exercise in futility, and they have vowed to challenge it in court. Even as Fubara has sworn in all the 23 newly elected council chairmen in the state. As it is now, the APP won, aside from the local government seats, the APP also went ahead to win 314 out of 319 councillorship seats in the state. All right. The exercise was complicated, but then it went ahead. PDP as well. The publicity secretary of the PDP, Kenneth Yowika, said the party will challenge the conduct of the polling court. Now, this is very interesting because Bala Mohammed, who happens to be the chairman of the PDP Governors Forum, has, because it's a new day, so maybe things have changed, I don't know, but had quite some sort of contrasting opinion or statement as regards this particular one, because Yowika went further to say, and I quote, "First of all, everything concerning that issue is illegal. We have said it clearly that elections should not be held, relying on the Federal High Court judgment delivered by Justice Peter. And I have said it before this time that any action taken regarding the issue of the local government will be futile, because if we say we're a country that stands by the rule of law, then we should not be doing things that are contrary to the rule of law." So PDP speaking now, saying we are a law-abiding party. We're not going to come out physically to begin to fight. We had a protest on Saturday showing that there was no election, and we stand by that decision. He said they visited the RCEC, that's Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission. He said the world saw there was no election, so we stand by the ruling. Well, they went ahead to do whatever charade people saw, and that is not acceptable by the PDP, that they are a law-abiding party, and they will remain a law-abiding party. All right? So, whereas Fuad, I'd like to interest, the listener with this statement from Bala Mohammed. Bala Mohammed, governor of Bauchi State, who also doubles as the chairman of the PDP Governors Forum. He was at the swearing-in. Of the council chairman yesterday, and he said something quite interesting. But before we listen to that, Fuad, maybe there's something you just want to quickly say as regards the fact that Wike's camp is going ahead, and this statement from PDP saying that they're going to challenge, the election.
Well, it's within their rights. Those that are not happy with the conduct of the election, the right thing to do, if they are dissatisfied, is to also approach the court. When it comes to Rivers State, we've lost count on the number of cases that are before different courts on this Rivers crisis matter between Nyesom and the governor of Fire. So whatever they do now about the conduct of this election will be an addition to the long list of different court cases on these matters. And I don't think the courts are tired of Rivers. They will always accommodate them. I'm sure that more cases will still come up. So this will just be an addition to the already existing cases. Again, like you read out from the papers and with the several reports we have, elections were conducted against all odds on Saturday. You know, the judgments that came from the Federal High Court, the actions and inactions of the police, and a lot of statements, very interesting, and the statements that we got even from the governor as to the conduct of the police when it comes to Rivers State matter. You know, at some point he had to even call out the IGP and said he was ready to be shot as part of the sacrifice to salvage the political structure and the political existence of Rivers State. But after all said and done, Sandra, the elections were conducted. We monitored the elections, and we discovered that, look, elections were held. How they were held is another conversation entirely, but elections were held on Saturday. And it's not just Rivers State, Sandra. The same Saturday, Akwa also conducted his own local government election. The same Saturday, I think Jigawa also conducted his own local government elections, and there's one other state I'm trying to remember now, Benue also conducted local government elections on Saturday. And as we had anticipated and predicted severally, the party of the governor took everything, except for maybe one or two cases where you probably think that these were just arrangements again to create some feeling of transparency in the process. But it was also the same thing. In Akwa Ibom, for example, Pastor Eno, the PDP took over everything, took everything. In Benue State, the APC of Reverend Father Aliyah took everything. In Jigawa State, it was also the same thing. In fact, the other parties did not even bother. The APC took everything. You understand? So it's the same pattern. And that's what we've seen also with the last 10 local government elections. We've also seen conducted after the Supreme Court ruling on how elections are on how funds will be, now distributed to the local government. So there was really nothing new that happened in Rivers State. What was different with Rivers State is that, look, the politicians of Rivers State have refused to behave themselves. They have refused to exercise any form of decorum in their behavior. So you have a situation where the governor is now becoming a man of himself. He now understands that, no, gentlemen, they do this thing. If you understand what I'm saying. And I think it's actually taking a cue from when recently the Senate President himself, Godswill Akpabio, advised him that, look, if you like, sit down, let them push you out, instead of you to stand up and fight. So interesting developments actually in Rivers State. I'm sure the courts will also be very busy with all manner of litigations. I'm also sure the governor would also be talking to his lawyers on how to get some ex parte order, how to get vacation judgments. I know we've decided to make a mess of the judicial process when it comes to political matters. And politicians have learned, the crooked way of manipulating the judiciary, of putting their hands in judgments and what have you, overnight judgments. They've identified judges who are willing to do their bidding. It's a complete mess, Sandra. And whether we like it or not, what we have is a threat to our democracy. Whether we like it or not. And if you look at what Bala Mohammed is saying, he was there yesterday, you understand that, look, I think the governors of the PDP are playing a very funny game. When I say funny, interesting game on Nyesom Wike, when you see someone who is so full of himself, who is filled with arrogance, sometimes the easiest way to defeat them is to allow them to enjoy their own arrogance, rub their ego, make them by themselves with their own actions fail themselves. So I think what the PDP guys are doing, and even some people like Martin, who we think is for Nyesom Wike, understands the weakness of you believing so much in yourself to the point where you are not able to even listen to wise counsel from other people. Sandra, one of the worst things that can happen to any human being in this world, Sandra, and take note, I want to speak it in Yoruba, you help me to translate, is when you now live a life of Semi-Yemi. What is Semi-Yemi? Mr. Know It All. I'm just whatever I believe because everybody.
Yeah, all right.
No. You have now messed everything up. So now it's my own concern me.
That was a literal translation, but please carry on.
No, you can't. You must help with this one.
It's a deep one. All right,
my own English on this one has failed me. Me. Sandra.
I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. Temi is I know what I'm doing now, Abi.
Okay, well, but you know, someone that just believes that I know it all, and no other person can advise it. You know, and people like that would eventually fail themselves. You can't know it all. You must sometimes, and people have said that, look, the strategy should have been, look, you know, there's always a time you know, when you will fight and run, live to fight another day. Right? You can't just continue to fight. Sometimes, okay, Fubara, like you said, it's a bad investment. We made the mistake to support the wrong person, and he's doing this to us. You know, there's always a time you just, you know, you drop your weapons and say, okay, we allow you to take the day, but then go back to re-strategize and probably work towards 2027. But, you know, I think Ƴesom is not such a person who would want to re-strategize. He just wants to have it in his own way. He feels so much of it, believes so much in himself. But I can tell you that the only thing why it's still relevant today is that he's the minister of the FCC. That is an appointment with the president. The day he's dropped as a minister, that ends everything politically for him. I tell you for free. But again, Rivers State, that has happened, we've seen it. Sandra, like we said, local government election conduct in Nigeria is a huge joke. People are just writing results. And it's not just Rivers State. From Lagos to Ogun or everywhere, results are being written. We are just wasting our time.
You know, that's another major conversation here now. Aside from the power tussle that's going on in Rivers State, there's also, you know, some spotlights that should be, you know, shed on the way local government elections have gone down. Yeah, some people may hail Fubara as, you know, owning his own and standing his ground and ensuring that things do not, you know, falter. But then the way the local government elections went is also another thing that we also need to pay attention to. Not only in Rivers State. No, not only in Rivers State. I mean, Kwara State, for example, the announcement was even much more embarrassing than the election itself, and the same with so many other states as well. I mean, before
have you even seen the results of Rivers State? Have you seen any figures that you can work? So, okay, this were the votes counted.
They just announced.
These were the results. You just saw results and people were and in other states, have you also seen figures as announced? You see a process where votes were being counted and figures were, it's a joke. So even when the federal government went to court and got that judgment from the Supreme Court that, don't transfer. I keep telling you, Sandra, that I remember that when this issue was raised in the Senate, the Deputy Senate President, he said that, look, it's not going to be a part of any process to talk about funds going directly to local government because governors were. He said the real thing to start, the way to start, if we are really intentional about freeing the local government from the strong upstream on the control of the governors, is to first talk about how elections are conducted into the local government. That if we don't sort that out, whatever we do, so far the governors are still in charge of the local government through the state independent electoral commissions. We are just wasting time. Look at what we are seeing now. Look at exactly what we are seeing. It's not a waste of time. The way these elections are being conducted.
Thank you very much, Said Fuad. It's 6 minutes past 8 and you're listening to Mainland 98.3 FM. This is Trends in the Papers. We're looking through the major stories trending on the front pages of our papers this morning. Before we get off this particular story, which is the major headline on the front page of The Punch, and that is the Rivers crisis, let's listen to Bala Mohammed and his thoughts as regards what is going on. Bala Mohammed, very, very important for you for context purposes, is the Bauchi State Governor and also the chairman of the People's Democratic Party Governors Forum. He was at the swearing in of the local government chairman in Rivers State. That is, what's the ruling party in Rivers State? PDP. I really don't know, but then it's PDP. And then you have you have all 23 local government chairmen. APP, or 22 local government chairman out of 23 APP, and he had quite something interesting to say, and that we need to also put some spotlight on our democracy and how it works, and the fact that opposition politics and just a lot to actually take away from the statement of Bala Mohammed. So we can move on to the next story. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
The state is run by PDP, but not controlled by PDP. Unfortunately, this is the problem that we have found ourselves in as a party, and as governors. The governor of Rivers State is our vice chairman of the PDP Governors Forum. And of course, he is still with us. He is still a PDP man. And I have to come on behalf of the governors to show solidarity to him for this very proactive democratic instinct that he developed, which is a new manifestation in the political arena in Nigeria, where he had to incentivize, he has to develop strategy to be able to deliver governance irrespective of party allegiance or partisan consideration. He didn't have the structure of the party in the state for certain reasons, and he had to go out and make sure he allows other parties to participate within the political space so that there won't be any vacuum. And I think this is very auspicious, that is very, very creative, and I'm very, very proud of him. And I said, yes, we have lost as a party, and that is why we are running from this. Again, he has established himself as a governor and the pride of all the governors of Nigeria. At the subnational level, you cannot just ignore a governor. A governor is the chief executive. He can do anything. He can spring surprises, because the Nigerian state is run by governors at the subnational level. Even the federal government is a tenant. Nigerians live in the states and in local governments. And that's why what he did to me is very, very proactive and creative, irrespective of the fact that he knew his party would lose. But certainly, because of his deep democratic instincts, he had to allow the other parties to win. And I would just wish that those who have won will find it in their own modesty to give him support, because he's not doing it with any string or asking them to do anything. Let him, the APP, and him have that relationship so that he can govern. As a person, I had a similar situation in 2019. I governed a state where only 9 are members in the assembly, and he's still doing that. So, of course, his political sagacity has come to a level where he has become a specimen for democratic studies in Nigeria. And that is the more reason I'm here. Governor Kubra is the vice chairman. All the governors are with him, and certainly we are taking steps to ensure reconciliation. Reconciliation with somebody whom they have started with, the former governor of this state and the minister of FCT, is a must, because certainly they have come a long way, and we didn't want to throw away the baby with the bathwater. And certainly the governors are with the governor, because this is our own tradition and fraternity. At the same time, out of our own political history as a party who has history of governance, we are still stretching an arms of reconciliation to his mentor, to his friend and brother, and also our colleague. Thank you very much.
That was the voice of Bala Mohammed, governor of Bauchi State, and also the chairman of the PDP Governors Forum. It was quite interesting. It was at the swearing in of the local government chairman in Rivers State, where PDP not only lost the election but also did not participate in the local government elections. And the governor of the state, who happens to be in PDP, I mean, it's a whole lot of mess. The governor in the state is in PDP, and he directed the local government chairman to run under all the local government chairmen left the PDP. I really don't get that part anyways, but there's just a lot that happened in Rivers State. And as I read earlier on, the National Publicity Secretary of the PDP, has said that, oh no, we did not, participate in the election. We're going to go to court because, the election was an exercise in futility. But here you have, the chairman of the governors forum saying, all the PDP governors were solidly behind Fubara. What he did was very proactive. It was very creative. The fact that he allowed other parties, that's part of what I'm saying. He allowed other parties to participate in it, and, he had to do something. Oh yes, PDP lost, but then, reconciliation is the way forward as it is now. Wike has said a lot. We may not have the luxury of time to listen to that now. Excuse me, but not to worry. By Mainland Focus, we'll definitely get to listen to some things from Wike himself as well. But the conversation around it all is whether democracy will thrive, whether governance will thrive, and what exactly is the place of the rule of law in all the shenanigans that's happening in Rivers State. We've dealt quite a lot with this particular story. We'll need to move further, but Fuad, I'm sure there's something you want to say as regards Bala Mohammed's statements.
Well, Bala Mohammed, an experienced politician, also a former minister of the FCT. And, if you are a very smart and intelligent person, you are able to read through the statement of Bala Mohammed to understand that, look, it's time for Yᴏᴜᴛ to pay attention to what these guys are doing and saying. And in between what they are doing and saying, there's a lot that he can learn from. I think he needs to drop down from his high horse and begin to see that, look, there will be a time that the president will also look at him and say, look, maybe I overrated this guy. May not be as big as I think he is.
You just reminded me that we also have another, statement here from Asari Dokubo, but please carry on.
So, because again, Bala Mohammed was very truthful in that statement. Very, very truthful. He didn't even hide anything. That look, we're here, and it's unfortunate that we as a party in power in Rivers State, but we are not in control now. He also talked about the fact that it's unfortunate that the governor had to come up with something creative to help himself because he was not able to take over the structure of the PDP in the state. So in everything Bala Mohammed said, he was not lying. He was actually very truthful about what had happened. And he said that, look, whatever the governor did by allowing another party to take over the structure of the local government was a very creative one, which must be commended. In fact, they called him a political genius for what he has been able to do. And that's why you can see that, look, when recently the governor said that, look, he was building an hospital and was going to have a psychiatric unit to it because his advisors were going to begin to run mental. We already seen that, look, a very quiet Fubara may not actually be a weakling. It's not about the noise. It's about the substance. The noise maker in the room may not necessarily be the most strategic or the most intelligent person when it comes to things like this. The quieter you are outside that sometimes, the more strategic you are about this game of politics. So Bala Mohammed has been able to put everything on the table. At some point, he has to also bring Wike in. He said that, look, we are still hoping to reconcile them. We can't throw away the baby with the bathwater. They are open. But why they are saying they are open, they can reconcile them. They are also ensuring that the governor is protected. Look at what he said about the power of the governor. And look, whether you like it or not, the governor is a very powerful person and he can spring up surprises.
The chief executive.
And that is it's as a chief executive that, look, you don't joke with the governor. And Sandra, whatever Bala Mohammed is saying about the powers of the governor, Wike in the past had also said it. About that, you don't joke with the governor. You think he's a small boy, he can shock you. And all of that. So, Bala Mohammed, I listened to that statement carefully and I'm like, oh, this is interesting. This guy is not missing words. He's not hiding anything. But would a Wike listen, drop from his high horses and drop his elbow a bit to begin to analyze and critically understand these things? I doubt it. He's not a man that exercises any form of decorum to be able to see the wisdom that is coming from Bala Mohammed.
Thank you very much, Sir Fuad. The governor himself, Sim Fubara, in all of this, has admonished the new chairman to remain connected with the people in their council areas, and he has urged them to emulate his approach to peace by being patient with the people and resolving every situation amicably. He said, and I quote, See this opportunity as a call to service. It's an opportunity for you to bring people together and deliver to the people of Rivers State. We need development in the 23 local government areas, and that's the governor moving ahead or moving on from whatever it is that, detractors are putting out there. It's 17 minutes past 8, and you're on to Trends in the Papers on Mila 98.3 FM, and still on the front page of the Punch newspaper. I also have this interesting story here. 2027, Labour Party welcomes Kwakwanso's offer to be Obi's running mate. Okay, this is an interesting one, but let's see what the report has for us this morning. So the Labour Party yesterday has welcomed the offer by the presidential candidate of the New Nigeria People's Party, NNPP, Senator Rabiu Kwakwanso, in 2023 to be the running mate to Labour Party's Peter Obi in the 2027 presidential election. So there was a post recently that went viral where Kwakwanso indicated his willingness to serve as running mate to Peter Obi, and this is less than 2 years, or just last year, when Kwakwanso said, "Oh no, that was not going to work. That was never going to happen," and he was never going to be a running mate to anyone, and things went south as regards a collaboration between both of them. And there are reports that Labour Party and the NNPP had actually considered a merger before the 2023 general election, but the inability of either Obi or Kwakwanso to concede leadership was what collapsed the heightened move. Neither of them wanted to be a running mate. Both of them wanted to, be the flag bearer at that point now. But then Kwakwanso, who was former governor of Kano State, has expressed his readiness in an Hausa interview that if certain conditions are met, he's willing to be a running mate in 2027. Forward.
Well, 2027 on the mind of all our politicians. Calculations, the politicking has started. In fact, it started as we were concluding the last election. So that's the way politicians in Nigeria take elections. Even as you're conducting and completing one, you have to start the process of thinking about the next one. Kwakwanso still maintains that, look, he has a bigger political potential than Peter Obi. He has a bigger structure. He has a bigger relevance. But that, look, if they can sit and work together and come up with some agreeable conditions, agree to some conditions, they'll be willing to be in running mate. The conditions we don't know. He has not been able to spell it out. You understand? Because again, who knows what the conditions he's talking about? What are the conditions that politicians give themselves to be able to concede to being running mate or not being a running mate? After you said that, look, you can never be a running mate to him. So what are the conditions in the mind of Rabiu Kwakwanso to now accept to being a running mate to Peter Obi? It's also very important because, look, Sandra, always pay attention to what politicians are saying. What they do sometimes and say, it's always very good that you look between the lines, check and recheck. If it doesn't align, you understand that there's a mistake somewhere. So, but again, I think it's a good one that is even open to the idea of being a running mate to Peter Obi. Whether Peter Obi wants to have him as his running mate, another question entirely. In fact, the Labour Party that is jumping on this is a party that is not even able to sort its own problems out. If you understand what I'm saying. But again, the Peter Obi Kwakwanso combination will be a very good one, whether anybody likes it or not. It's going to be a very strong combination, really, a very competitive one at that level. But I think we just have to wait to see if they are able to work out these conditions among themselves and then become a pair in 2027.
All right, then. Well, thank you very much. Just as you have mentioned, the Kwakwanso, was talking about his rising political profile, saying that he was bigger than Peter Obi, and that was what, informed his own decision as regards whether or not he should be the flag bearer or the running mate. But with Peter Obi coming in third at the 2023 election, where he secured approximately 6 million and about 100,000 thereabout votes, while Kwakwanso, struggled to have 1.5 million votes. I think it showed who was, who had what.
Bigger politically.
It's all right. Who had what? Anyways, whether or not, especially also as Fuad had highlighted with the crisis, leadership crisis, because there are different crises rocking different political parties now. So with the leadership crisis in Labour Party, who is the national chairman, who is not the national chairman, and who is in charge of the Labour Party and all of that, if they can put that aside and have a proper conversation, we'll see how 2027 will turn out, and if this merger would be a game changer come 2027. We'll find out. That's the story that's on the front page of the Punch newspaper, and other stories. We also have other stories as well, but you can get further details of this particular story on page 8 of the Punch. Moving ahead very quickly, just as Fuad mentioned earlier on, Benue also had its local government elections on Saturday, and APC took it all. But then there's Abba Moro who is tackling that particular situation, and that's
don't mind him, because he's in the PDP. And Abba Moro that is tackling the conduct of the elections in Benue is because he's in the PDP. If he becomes the governor in that thing, and he has to conduct that election, he's going to do the same.
They will go to him. It's all right. But we wish him all of the best. The story is on page 18.
Go to court.
You have joined them, Fuad.
Everything else in court.
Page 18 has all of the details for the Punch newspaper. We also have here Naira for crude. 3 refineries plan PMS production. Dangote awaits NNPC supply. And this is October 7. This was supposed to have commenced 1st of October.
We started again, Sandra. Shifting timelines. We have started. October 4th, October 7th now. I hope we'll not be on this same story to the end of this year. We have started. It's another policy statement, policy idea, sell crude in Naira. We have started shifting the date now. October 4th has not happened. Now 7. Before you know, next week, end of October, or November will be on it. As we speak, Dangote is still expecting the NNPCL to come up with how to ensure this thing is done. There was a committee, a task force set up by the presidency to make sure this thing happens. So between the NNPCL and the committee, headed by the FIRS man, they were not able to ensure it started on October. Sure, you see why sometimes we keep questioning the ideas of policy announcements and the commitment to implementing those policies, more than it just being headliners and things to excite Nigeria.
Well, excuse me. There was an announcement by the federal government that the Naira for crude deal has commenced, but Dangote is yet to receive supply of the crude. I don't know whether
it has commenced out.
Maybe they started loading. I don't know. But I don't know.
If Dangote got crude and paid for it in Naira, who will know? It's going to be the statement you said that started. The man said that we're not saying, I'm even waiting for you to give me the proper guidelines on how it's going to happen. The NNPCL is mute. They've not said anything on that policy. The last we heard of that policy was from the FIRS man who said, it's going to start. Start out where? What's the rule? What are the rules of engagement on this particular one? Nobody knows. And with this kind of delay and troubling, silence, it shows that there are people who are not really committed to some of these things they say.
All right, fine.
Or they are directed to do. Yes.
But thank you very much. But there's still a lot to discuss as regards this particular one, because we also have 3 more refineries are also coming on board to start production of PMS. We have the Aradel refinery in Rivers State. We have the Clear Gold refinery in Delta, and we also have @ʌ in Bayelsa. But with Dangote still awaiting crude from NNPCL, how these will come on stream, would find out very soon.
You better go and relax.
But there's a story.
The big masquerade in the room is saying there's nothing. Your Jᴏɪṛ too are. Whatever happens in Dangote, sorry?
It's all right. Carry on.
Jᴏɪṛ now. The big masquerade in the market square is telling you that there's fire on the mountain. There's problem somewhere. If this policy is committed to really, and the government is serious about its intentions, by now this was a policy that was announced like 2 months ago, right, Sandra? So why have they not been able to work out the modality?
It's all right.
Now we are now seeing anyways.
Interestingly, still on this NNPCL conversation, I'm going to move very quickly now to the front page of the Guardian newspaper. It still trends in the papers, and we still have one or two more stories to go on the show this morning, and you're listening to Mainland 98.3 FM. There's a report here on the front page of the Guardian. NNPCL withholds $11.3 billion and remits only $2.3 billion to the Federation. And there's also worry that the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission may face off with NNPCL over a 3.4 trillion naira royalties, as well as gaps in the implementation of Frontier Exploration Fund. All right. So NNPCL's withholding of such substantial fund is a reflection of deep-seated issues within the framework of the PIA, which is supposed to, overhaul the Nigeria's petroleum sector. But 2 years after the PIA, Agora insists that instead of enhancing revenue for the Federation, the law is inadvertently funneling more resources to the NNPCL to the detriment of the country's coffers. So the PIA, a blessing or a handicapped blessing?
You know what, Sandra? In Nigeria, it's not always about the law, but it's about how those that are supposed to implement the law circumvent the process, manipulate the process, and mess up everything. Just the same way we talk about subsidy. The idea of subsidy is never bad, Sandra. Never bad. Subsidy as a policy or as an idea is not bad in any instance. There's no way you look at it. But look at how we have been able to implement the subsidy regime. When the PIA came up, you see, the things about us, the reality about Nigerians is that, look, we come up with a law. It's just like this idea of the state police. As good as it sounds, really, when it comes to insecurity, you can see that people are already saying that, look, if you are not careful, you're going to create this state police and create bigger problems than the ones we have now. The PIA came up and it was supposed to ensure transparency, accountability, and even talk about more revenue for the country. But somehow there's a lot of secrecy, a lot of manipulation. Even the way the PIA is being implemented is done in a very shoddy way, a very corrupt way. And that's why I keep saying, Sandra, that look, we are not even the experts. We're not even voted for. What we are doing basically is to get people thinking about some of these things. But Mr. President, the buck stops at his death. At the end of the day, with his experience in the oil sector, with his political sagacity, the fact that he even decided to hold on to the Ministry of Petroleum is the reason why Nigerians are waiting on him to help us unbundle this cancer of corruption we have in the oil sector, to help us fight the cabal and ensure that we are able to remove all the opaqueness we have around the oil sector in Nigeria so that it can become something of prosperity and better living for Nigerians. The story of the NNPCL every day that we have to review standard. It's always a sad tale of whether they are owing somebody, they are withholding revenue, they are not able to meet up their obligations, or they are telling lies to Nigerians. What kind of company is this one, sir?
Is all right. Well, the PIA, which provides governance, regulatory or fiscal framework for the Nigeria petroleum industry, has sections in it that, may have been misinterpreted, or I don't know at this point now, because there are sections that grant NNPCL the right to deduct 30% from the Federation's profits, and then another 30% for the FEF, that's the Frontier Exploration Fund. All right. So with this dual deduction, it has resulted in the fact that NNPCL will be retaining up to 60% of profits, which will leave the Federation with a significantly reduced share of the proceeds. So this is, where there may be a need for revision of the PIA.
Look, if we solidly discover that the PIA is detrimental to the progress and prosperity of Nigeria, I'm sure Mr. President, with a very friendly National Assembly, can rework the PIA within a week. I'm telling you. And with all of these reports we are getting, this problem we're seeing, and that's why some of us are saying the president has not shown enough commitment to helping us resolve the problem in the oil sector. I'm sorry. Even the issue of the refineries, the problems in the PIA, the corruption within the oil sector, the fact that Dangote has been lamenting and crying that there's a cabal in that sector that is even worse than the mafia, the drug cartels. I'm sorry. As far as I'm concerned, Mr. President has not shown enough commitment to fixing the problem. The devil in the Nigerian oil sector. And he has to be the one to help us fix the problem. Now say they are surrendering their mandate to it. It's not false.
All right. Well, thank you very much. But there's a lot that still needs to be discussed, and I really don't know. But then, just as Fuad said, it's all right. We'll take a short commercial break now. When we come back, it'll be time for Mainland Focus, and that's the part where, our dear listener, you get to be a part of the conversation, and you share your own thoughts and your own contribution, your own submission as regards the two focal points that we're going to be looking through this morning. This is still Mainland 98.3 FM. We'll be right back.